Hey everybody, Gustavo Ferman here, Into the Flow. Thank you for listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. And please subscribe and like, I appreciate it. And send me any comments you have. I'll respond. Yeah, thank you for that. All right. As you know, Into the Flow is a show that I'm really passionate about because it's a show that talks about being into the flow of who we really are as energy beings. Yes, being in the flow means, as you know, staying with the energy of the universe, staying with our own energy combined with the energy of the frequencies of the universe, right? So it's like kind of being in touch or connected to your inner being and just basically having the life you want, right? That's Into the Flow, is following your intuition, following your inner being in everything you do in life. Now, this next conversation, it's a really good one, very interesting one, because I'm speaking with Brent Harpie. Is a channeler and a clairvoyant. Amazing. Really cool guy, really calm, really at peace, but very powerful, very connected to the universe. He has great stories. As I gotta tell you, I had a great time talking to him, and I was in awe of all this stuff. He was telling me everything that I was learning through him, and his experiences was great. Now, I want to tell you what a clairvoyant is. If you don't know, you might have heard this name before, and you might have your own opinions about it. But that's what this podcast is about, is to open people's minds and to just conversate with different minds, and to learn, right? To learn and to be open to possibilities. And so a clairvoyant is a person who has supernatural abilities to perceive events in the future or beyond normal sensory contact. That's one definition that I found. Now, a channeler is a person who conveys thoughts or energy from a source believed to be outside the person's body and conscious mind. So, whatever you believe, whatever you think about a channeler or a clairvoyant. Now, Brent is going to explain to you better than me. He's going to explain to you exactly what he does. And so here we go. Enough said. I want you to meet Brent Harpie next on Into the Flow. Ooh, and the light changed as I said that. Love it. Here we go. Let's go. Hey everybody, how you doing? How's everybody? Gustavo Ferman here, Into the Flow. As you know, I'm gonna say my first word that every time I'm talking to cool people, it's like I'm excited. I always feel excited, and I'm super excited today to have Brent Harpie, and is clairvoyant channeler. Am I correct, Brent? Am I saying it correct?
Yes, yeah.
A clairvoyant. Can you say it yourself?
Clairvoyant channeler. I guess that
Clairvoyant channeler. I love that.
myself as.
Yes. No, that's awesome. And I'm so excited and happy because well, you're in Connecticut, and so we're doing this over, of course, now we're together, but our energy is together, and we're connected in our energy. And so it's exciting because I haven't met you in person, but we have actually met online and on social media, and we had a nice, beautiful talk as well, I would say. And that really, I remember your energy being so calm and so to get so in the flow that, when we meet people that are in the flow, the connection keeps on going and going until hey, I want to talk to that person. I want to see what Brent thinks, or there's always that connection I feel. even if we don't see each other in person? What do you think of that connection with people without meeting and talking all the time? What do you think of that connection?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I know you used like a Abraham term earlier. It's meeting people on your wavelength and being attracted to people that you can feel are coming from a place of excitement and authenticity. And obviously, with everything going on in the world right now, there's a lot of justifiable feelings of unrest, but it's always exciting and a confirmation of your own point of attraction, right? When you meet someone that you have a good conversation with, or you feel a good vibe with, or you feel connected
Mhm.
from. And yeah, I mean, I think that's beautiful. And also in my own life right now, staying centered, because sometimes more than not, right, we're being around people that are very focused politically or feeling very worried, and staying centered or working on my own alignment so that I can interact with people that are not feeling in the flow and not have that shift me off of my flow.
Wow, that's beautiful. Especially nowadays, that's great. Really good thing you said about that, being in the flow, being connected. So you're not in this, you feel wobbling and you feel going like, you feel like this in these times where everybody has opinions and anger and whatever's going on. You want to be connected. And that's all we want. You know what I mean? And so before we get going, and because I want to ask you so many things, and before we get going, I'm so interested in to explain to people what exactly is channeling and clairvoyant, and also how do you start it? Because it's always a beginning of everything, a reborn, I would say, or an awakening, I would say, maybe, of things that happen to us in different ways. And I think, am I using the correct words? An awakening for you. When do you have your awakening? And tell us about what you do.
So, like how I got into this, it's a bit of a long story, but I would say back in 2000, someone that I was in love with passed away, and it really got my focus shifting into non-physical and going to bookstores and getting books. I went from like having a reading with Sylvia Brown, if you remember her, to Eckhart Tolle, to just going and going, going. And it was right around, I think, 2001 that I discovered Abraham Hicks. And having that book and really understanding law of attraction and sort of the quantum physics of this universe, and how understanding that there's a formula. So everything that brought me pain or every heartache that I experienced, a lot of times we will repeat those things in our mind, right? Like, oh, I don't want that happen again, or why did this happen? And to have information understanding how, which, yeah, I didn't know about law of attraction, understanding how if you're thinking a certain way, then you're vibrating that, and you can only have certain experiences. And that really changed my life. And I think I was also not doing well physically at that time. I had a lot of health problems, a lot of depression, suicidal feelings. And I went to an Abraham workshop and I raised my hand and I got called on. And
Nice.
have you gone to an Abraham workshop?
Yes, and I wanted to get called so bad. Of course, everybody does, I think. But I was sitting. I didn't get there on time. I got there late. Well, kind of late because people were there an hour, 2 hours before, and I sat really all the way at the back, and I'm short. So I didn't want to jump up and down because you can't. I just went like this. She didn't see me, but I guess maybe the energy didn't connect. But no, I love the energy that I felt in the room with her. It was amazing. So that's amazing. You went the first time you got chosen for the hot seat.
Well, it's not. Well, I'll come back and answer that, because
Okay,
there's
okay,
a way to get picked. It's never not
okay,
that energy is not connecting. So don't ever feel that
okay.
way.
Good.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know.
yeah, because when you're, well, that'll bring me off on a tangent, but I got picked and I was sitting in the chair and I asked my question, and they said something which kind of triggered a memory within me, and they responded to my thought. So they asked me something different, and then I thought something because I had a memory get triggered from what they asked me, and then they commented on my thought. And I started getting goosebumps, all the hair on my arm, and I was like, okay, this is real. Because I wasn't sure if I believed it, even though, you feel the energy, but to be sitting there and you're in a room of like 1,000 people and your face is on the screen because they're broadcasting it to 83 countries, and to have them comment on my thoughts, like
Wow.
I was like, wow, okay, this is
Wow.
this is real.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
um, so that was like 2001, and since then, I've talked to Abraham 26 times,
I
and
read that. I saw that on your website. It's 20. That's amazing.
thank you. That so they've been huge in terms of just I kind of use them like a therapist in the beginning, you know what I mean? Talking about all my issues, having them help me understand momentum and how your thoughts, create your reality. And it was seeing Bashar, Bashar, Daryl Anka.
Yes, yes.
It was seeing him in 2016 that really changed my life because it was when
Wow.
I was standing in front of him and his energy that I started getting kind of flashbacks of different interactions that I had had with non-physical beings. And at the end of the workshop, they have this holotope. You know what I'm talking about? It's like this wall that has lights that go on, and just like you could look at red and blue lights and have like a seizure, right? Like this is white light that goes in a certain pattern to trick your brain to go into a beta state. So it's like you stare at this thing while Bashar's channeling, and it literally forces you under into a deep meditative state. And
Mm,
it was that moment that started me realizing that I had these gifts. Like I started getting intuitions, I started seeing things,
wow.
and things really kicked off, I would say, during the pandemic, where
Oh,
to make a really long story short, I went from meditating. I didn't plan this; it just kind of happened. I went from meditating 15 minutes a day to 6 hours, and when you do
oh my, wow.
yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do, right? Like during that, so
Exactly.
I still never watched Charmed. That was on my list of things to do during the pandemic. I was gonna watch Charmed, but instead of watching Charmed, I ended up meditating 6 hours a day, and I connected to my inner being, um, and her name's Sophia, and she explained to me, that I I don't have the technical terms for this, but I think, most people understand we only use a small percentage of our brain, right? So when you're focusing in that manner for that long, whether or not you want to, it's like you go to the gym long enough, right? Even if you don't believe you can do it, if you're walking on the treadmill, you're going to sweat, right? You're going to see a change in your body. Things are going to tight up. So when you're focusing for that long, something's going to happen. And I open up part of my brain and I connected to my guide. I started having like physical visitations. And that's when I developed these abilities. And I was very blessed because I admire very much. Are you familiar with Matt Kahn?
Not, no, I'm not familiar with him.
Matt Kahn is incredible. He's someone that I really look up to. He's been channeling, he's been doing this since he was 8, and uh, he's incredible. And I was able to take a channeling class with him, and he's someone that's kind of doing what I want to do on that level. He's got a whole bunch of books that are incredible. And I was in a channeling class with him, and he really helped me because there's all kinds of things like you can't really Google this, you know what I mean? And there's all kinds of things that like
Yeah.
when the human brain is in a state of telekinesis, it's like being on Molly or ecstasy, right? So your brain is firing and you need water, you get dehydrated. Like there's all kinds of not only the non-physical stuff, but there's so much stuff that happens to your body that I was very blessed to be able to talk to Abraham about and have Matt's classes to really kind of ground this within me. And that kind of brought me to where I am now, where as like a fan a while ago, I had started an Instagram, Abraham Hicks quotes, because they changed my life and I just wanted to give back. So I was making memes of quotes that have personally affected me or mean a lot to me. And I started offering my services where I will get into like a channeling state and then I'll use tarot cards, which I had no interest in at all. But I was having these amazing things happening in my bedroom, like channeling for myself, just bring through all of this stuff. And uh, when you interact with like your inner being or non-physical in a more pronounced way, you will get ideas. They will make offerings, but they never tell you what to do. They don't ever tell you what to do. They'll make suggestions. So I was suggested to work with tarot, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to use tarot. And Sophia, my guide, was like, well, we're suggesting for you to use tarot because you need to see yourself out in the world doing this so that I could take the energy that I'd anchored within myself and not only kind of take it outside of my apartment, but see myself doing this, interacting with people. Because it's like one thing to have clarity, to have knowing on your own, but it's another to be not only using those gifts to help uplift others, right? But it shifted me through different realities energetically and psychologically to use tarot cards as a permission slip so that I would believe that this was happening, because in the beginning it was like I've always been into superheroes, right? And it's like, so one day you just have this power of like being an X-Men. And I went through this thing of like almost like what happens if I wake up one day and this goes away? Like what would I do? You know what I mean? So the tarot allowed me to comfortably be able to see myself like read someone's energy, read someone's mind. And that started opening up other gifts where I had where I guess I kind of do divination, where it's not divination, but most people, not most people, but unless you, I guess I'll say, use Abraham's teachings, right? Like deliberate creator, be aware of conscious. Most people don't do that, right? Most people are not conscious creators. So when you have the ability to read energy, you can literally see what's going to happen for someone, because unless someone is being deliberate about the way they feel and consciously choosing to not respond to conditions, things are usually going to play out in a certain way. So I'm able to sort of see that for people, guide them, and also with, I guess, my clairvoyant abilities, I can like read someone's mind. So I'll use the tarot cards to help someone see what their belief systems are or how to sort of integrate that. Yeah, that was a long story, but
No, but
that's how I kind of got into it. And I'm making like a long story short, but it's you know, we're very blessed that just with the technology that we have today, and you know, people like Esther Hicks and Daryl Anka, that this information not only to get someone out of depression or to help them with physical things, but to have the ability to be able to like go to someone, right, and be like, because oh, sorry, when I first started doing it too, I was doing readings for clients and I was having like deceased family members show up in the room with me. And not
that's wow.
I did not like that. I was not
Yeah,
comfortable with that. And I
wow.
learned that I can turn that off. I learned that, you know, you don't have to do that. You know, anyone can tap into certain things, but there's certain things, but it was such a blessing to have, you know, of what Esther Hicks does, or to have this available so that when you have these things happen, you can't really like Google, you know, to get answers of like why am I up all night when I'm first chilling and stuff like that. So I've been very blessed to have those teachers, those guides on the other side to give me perspectives and information, not only for my own life to get me out of where I was before, but once you get into this stuff and once you start opening this up to sort of understand how to use this.
Wow. Wow. That's so interesting. Like, so I have so many questions, but oh, before we keep going, I know you were mentioning Abraham Hicks. And so for people that don't know, you were saying they. So it's not a person. She channels a collective guides and source. So it's a collective. That's why it's called they. You mentioned, you say they when you mention Abraham Hicks. For people that don't know, but um, so I kind of want to go back. As there's so many questions, but I want to go back to when you were a kid, when you were 8, because I also had a lot of things and it's the age between like 1 to 7, 1 to 8 is very important in every kid's lives. There's one when you're more really connected. You still are, that the extension of source. We all are extension of source energy, but when you're a kid, you're so open, you know, you're so present. And I had moments where they were amazing moments, not like you, but for example, in my career, now that what I'm doing, I saw myself doing everything that I'm doing now, you know, like I would play and I would with my toys and I'd be like creating this scenes where I'll be doing, and things like that I've done now in my life with which I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was already kind of making it into a reality,
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
was a kid, because I was so open to the excitement and open to the energy. And
Yeah.
so when you went through that when you were 8, how did you feel? Did it scare you, or did you feel like this is normal? Or
Yeah, no.
and when did you lost it, or you forgot about it? I shouldn't say lost it. You forgot about it and you came on to the realization again when you were 20. So what happened when you're a kid and then the moment of
So, everyone has the same access to source energy and non-physical, right? Because we're all God's children, like we're all extensions of all that is. And most of us, I think, around the age of like 4 or 5, when language and math are setting in, that we're sort of solidified into the reality that either our parents or our sort of home life has created. So we'll kind of shift out of that, which is normal, right? That's why we come to planet Earth, to have those experiences. So it's like that's totally normal that everyone would do that. And for you to be doing that at that young age and then up until now, it's like that's how life is. Like if something excites you, if something is you're passionate about it, not only is that a match to you and you're supposed to have it, but it's appropriate for this lifetime. Like if you're excited about it, it's something that you will be able to manifest. But yeah, I mean, so the way Sophia has explained it to me is when most humans interact with a non-physical being, to put it in sort of like technical terms, right? We are born not knowing that God is real. So anytime we interact with someone from non-physical, it's not because we're less or we're unworthy, but we're literally interacting with a being that is born or existing in the reality where they know that source and God are real. So that in and of itself will like bring any insecurities within yourself up to the surface. So I had some trauma happened to me when I was a child, some abuse that I wasn't aware of, which really shocked me because I'd always found myself to be very introspective. And when I was spending that amount of time meditating, that stuff started coming up. And I was saying to my inner being, like, well, what do I do with this? And she was just like, well, you don't need to, have anyone arrested. You don't need to do it. But it's just like you've blocked that out. So those feelings need to come up to the surface. So that's kind of a long way of saying that a lot of times, if there's any sort of interactions, non-physicals or visitation, stuff like that, the human body will automatically translate it as fear because not only is it an unknown frequency, so in a good way, anything that you desire that you want to experience, like say, winning $1 million or getting married or even interacting with guides and angels, all of those things that you haven't yet experienced exist in a frequency that's unknown to your body. So as a safety mechanism, you'll always translate it as fear. But for my case, in the specifics of like interacting with non-physical beings, it will bring up to the surface anything that's not settled within you. So that was kind of also part of my journey, is going through that and transmuting that. And
Mhm.
that's what's so beautiful about what Bashar and Abraham bring to the planet, is they give us all of these processes, and it's not just to manifest things, which of course that's wonderful, but it's also to be able to handle and maintain your alignment, right? Because there's nothing more important in this reality than the ability to self-soothe. And as you were
Mhm.
saying, we meet people in flow, but sometimes people don't have the ability to be like self-reflective. And there's nothing greater than you having the ability to self-soothe, right? Having something come up that scares you, and like literally sit down and do a process and be able to sort of integrate that or do vibrational alchemy and shift those emotions. Sorry, I took it off into a different direction than what you were.
No, but it's great because it's going perfect. It's exactly it's going into it's going in the flow, and that's my conversations always do that, and it's amazing. So I was listening to Bashar, and he mentioned something about a process that it makes so much sense. And like you said, source God is a frequency, love is a frequency, and as a feeling, and that's uh when I first started studying all this, it all makes sense. Like it was like explosion going in my head, going, "This is what I always knew.
Yeah,
Like this is. I remember knowing all this. I always knew this, and it's like so clear, but it's so hard to. In the beginning, our ego gets in the way, and it tries to explain and dissect things, and trying to explain to people and try to convince them, and they're like, what? And then you're crazy, and what's going on? Like, but when you just breathe and when you hear it and when you feel it, it's just so simple. Like, it's just so simple. And so Bashar said, the energy that you feel when you have fear is the same vibration as when you are in excitement or in appreciation, or yeah, because it's just a frequency, it's an energy,
yeah,
right? Is what we think, what our ego mind or our mind puts, what we're thinking about, that we think that that's the energy. Makes sense? But
of
it's
course.
but
Yeah,
the energy is the frequency. It's not the actual thought, the actual situation. To
absolutely.
me, that makes so much sense. It's like whatever my body feels, I can switch it. Let's say I'm feeling worry, right? Which happens to all of us. We have our ego. We're humans, and we have this. We worry, and then but we can change it in that moment, right? You breathe, you go inside yourself, and you connect to that source, and you change the way you think about your, and then you start. That feeling becomes. It's the same feeling of that. You know what I mean? It's amazing, and so it's practical. Like you were saying, you can soothe yourself. Like
Yeah,
it's not that you go outside yourself and ask for help anymore. It's not
absolutely.
like, please, like, I don't know what to do. Help, help. Yeah, we know what to do. Like,
Yeah,
but we have to learn that through people like Bashar, who's a channeler as well, and Abraham Hicks, right? And people like that they teach us this, and now yourself are teaching it as well, and through what you do. So, like again, going back to that, it's like it's not this. I would call it. People will call it like new age. I don't know why they call it new age. To me, it's if you it's more like ancient age. Like it's ancient. It's like it's being there forever and ever. It will be, and it's not something that is it's so practical for anybody
yeah,
to go into their feelings, to understand feelings in frequency and vibration. If
yeah.
if I'm being clear with that, it's just so simple.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's what I've discovered, not only for myself, but I'll say this to clients that I work with, is you want to, right? Because it's like there's two worlds. It's like the old you, and then the you that believes in energy and that you can create your own reality. So in the beginning, I think it's very important to sort of have like a touchstone for someone, either like through meditating, through just focusing, like picking a subject, like a red rose, a red rose, a red rose. You just think about something so that the universe will deliver it. Like having some sort of, because the human brain learns through repetition of information. So it's like, understanding that once you know about the laws of the universe and once you know about law of attraction, that you want to sort of have some sort of touchstone, that you have sort of a personal experience through meditation where you're sitting there and you're having like a muscle spasm in your leg, or your eye is twitching and going crazy, just something that you start to believe that you're connected to all that is, right? Or that you think about a rose and then you see a rose on TV, that something happens so that you can start to believe it. Because in the beginning, like you were saying, it can be difficult. It takes that sort of work, or it is a shift of perspective to get used to looking at things through a vibrational lens rather than the way we've been perceiving most likely our whole lives before we get into understanding about energy and things.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, you also were mentioning so many good things. Um, One thing is about manifestation that you just mentioned now. You see a red rose and then, or you're thinking about a red rose and then you see them and whatever. Like what I've learned is to appreciate. See, when as humans, we want to manifest our biggest dreams, and it doesn't happen. Like the house, in front of the beach. Like what's going on? But what I've learned is to appreciate the little tiny, little things that are a manifestation and this sign from source. Like you see in a red rose, and then, well, I was thinking about red roses. There is what I've had an issue uh, with when once you think this way, you feel this way, is to translate that to people that don't know it, that don't believe in things like this. They don't, they're very conditional, like, and so they always want to go and say, wait a minute, well, it's a coincidence. Like, there's a
Yeah.
red roses anywhere and everywhere. Of course, you're gonna find a red rose.
Yeah.
Or, for
Yeah.
example, when I told the story, and you probably heard this from Abraham, when you start getting into this kind of work and this beautiful thing is you see sometimes you see birds that are very different. Have you heard this from her, from
Yes.
them?
Yeah.
And when I first started doing this, I saw the most amazing bird in a garage, in a parking lot, underground, and it was
Yeah.
this amazing bird, like it was the tropical most amazing bird I've seen in my life. And I'm like, it landed right in front of my car, and I'm like, am I seeing this? Am I seeing this? Nobody was around. So I tell that to people, and they think I'm crazy because they haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to that rose, okay, so then you want to manifest. People get into this sometimes. They want to listen to this because they want to manifest.
Yeah.
And what I've learned to do is to say, you know what? I want to enjoy the process and the journey. I want to have fun. Um, not manif I want to manifest, of course. I want to create because we're creators, but it's not the main thing. And people take it as the main thing. That doesn't work. This doesn't work. I'm not
Yeah.
manifesting anything. Why? It's because your vibration is not where it's supposed to be. What do you think of all that? I mean, it's a lot to as well, but
So the first thing you said about other people, as Abraham will say, that's why Jesus said, "Go forth and tell no one." And in terms of if we're talking about energy or manifesting or living sort of in the world where you're paying attention to your vibration, don't, I always say, to my clients stuff, don't ever share this with someone unless someone comes to you and they say, "I need help," or "Why are you doing so well?" Because unless that happens, they're not in the place vibrationally to receive what you're offering. So you could literally be channeling, you could literally have, the words of Jesus. So I'm sitting in front of Abraham, right? Because I had just started doing this and I realized that I can see into the vortex, right? I can see months out. I can see 5 months out into the future. And I had a client whose husband tried to kill her 3 times. And I was kind of struggling with that because I was like, oh, am I supposed to be doing this? Can I handle this? And Abraham
Wow.
shared with me that Esther felt like this when she first started doing this, that she could save family members from driving off cliffs. But you can literally have the words of Jesus, right? You can have the perfect thing to say to someone, but if they're not in the place vibrationally to hear it, you can't get into a loved one's mind and make them vibrate, right? So I always say never share this unless someone comes to you and they say, I need help, or why are you doing so well? Because you can have the answer, you can have a gift, right? You can literally see, I could see into someone's to help them, but you can't get in someone's mind and make them vibrate. So that's what I learned is vibrational trespassing, right? It's called vibrational trespassing. So you're giving someone something that in a sense they're not asking for, or in a sense you're experiencing something of the bird of a high vibration, and then we're wanting to share it with people, but they're not sort of on that place. So, it's kind of like the go forth and tell no one. And in terms of the manifesting, that's what I was kind of saying a moment ago. I'll say to clients, always start right. Because here's the thing, right? We're part of all that is. Life is supposed to be good. We're supposed to have everything that we want, not in a materialistic sense, but because that's why we come here, right? This is like the Matrix. We're sort of waking up, loving ourselves, being able to manifest. So in the beginning, I would say it's more important to have some sort of conscious connection of your own worthiness rather than focusing on the manifestations, because the manifestations will come. But I would say it's more important first of like, go to an Abraham workshop, have a psychic reading, sit there, meditate, feel a muscle spasm under your chest that you've never felt. Like give yourself something, some sort of touchstone, so that that non-physical is real, so that the energy is real, sort of educating yourself, putting your mind in the framework of your knowing of how this works, then going ahead, right? Because it's like I want to be a lawyer, right? I want to be a lawyer. So, well, first you have to learn certain things. You have to learn the laws. You have to understand how things unfold so that you can have that end version of yourself that you want to be. But if you just focus on the end version of yourself, it can be very hard to get there. So you want to learn the sort of math of relating to reality, of knowing your worthiness, of having some sort of experience where like the rose thing, right? Or like the bird thing, something that means something to you personally that cannot be denied, which then, of course, you want to share with other people
Of
because you're so
course.
excited about it.
Exactly.
And then that'll mess you up because you're getting stable in your own vibration. This is what I did. I always say to my clients when you first get into this, go to the notes section of your phone and start listing manifestations.
Mm.
The rose. I wanted a cup of coffee. I went to, so then that way, when something happens and you start to doubt this, you can lay there in bed and go through your phone and remind yourself, like, okay, I have one foot in this world, I have one foot in the other, but now I'm starting to step over, and you can go and you can list. So it's kind of using conditions in a positive way where you're reminding yourself that you're starting to get this. So when something happens, you feel like you're off track, you can sit there and see this list of manifestations of all the things that mean something really special to you that might not mean something to someone else, but that that you're doing it, that that you're connected to all that is, that you're starting to see things manifest that a lot of times are everything. So this when I first started channeling, one of the first things that my guide said to me are fears are like the borders of reality, right? So it's like the video game, and the fear is like the final boss, and you'll come up against it not because your inner being or the universe doesn't want you to manifest being a lawyer, or doesn't want you to have the relationships, but it would be kind of like a shock to your system. It would shift you too quickly off of your path of life for it to just happen. So the fears will come up as like the final boss of the end of the level of the video game to make sure, like, do you really want this? So it's like
Mm.
as you're moving towards what you want, a fear will come up again, not because you're doing something wrong, but now for you to respond differently. Like now, can you love yourself? Now, can you feed a different vibration? Now, can you not freak out and be afraid? And then it's like the fear goes away, and then you move on to the next reality.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing thing you just talked about there. That's so cool. Um, One thing that and it comes to my life too. I mean, we all want to be superheroes, and we all are superheroes. That's what I tell
Absolutely.
people. It's like we all are
Yeah.
superheroes. Some people don't know they are, but we all are. And I
Absolutely.
think finding out that you are a superhero, like yourself, like somebody might say, well, I mean, he does this for a living. He knows things that we don't know. Like this doesn't happen to everybody, but it could happen to everybody. Everybody has an Abraham in themselves, and I think what what would be for you to meditate 6 hours? You know, I mean I meditated for an hour once, and I came out of it like, and I want to like to me doing all this that I'm doing now, especially like I'm coming out, I'm coming out, I'm coming out, and I'm saying, this is me. This is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to share. I'm not just a dancer and choreographer and all that, which I share my passion through that, but this is my passion as well. Talking about this and sharing it with people and being of service for maybe one person or two, whoever wants to absorb it and believe and follow it and benefit from it. And so going back to you being a channeler and a clairvoyant, it's just those are superpowers. I mean, not everybody can do that in a way that we don't believe that we can, but if we were open to it, we can do it. So my point is like people might see you as you're above other people because you have this talent, right? That
Yeah.
that a lot of people can't figure out. How am I going to do this? They're worried all the time. They're fearful. They're angry. They're criticizing. They're afraid of this. They're afraid of that. So the vibration is so low. They never can get to the point where you got. But this happened when you were a kid as well. That doesn't happen to everybody. So how do you explain that? I mean, did
Oh
I
yeah,
lose
no,
you on
no.
that?
No, you're making perfect sense. So one of the things, that Sophia had said to me was always be authentic because like as you just shared about yourself, well, I'm a dancer, but I'm also passionate about this. Whenever anyone is being authentic, you can't not tap into, right? Like the basketball player, not everybody can fly through the air and put the ball in the hoop, but he's following his passion, right? He's being his true self, he's being authentic.
Mm,
So one of the things when I was scared about losing this, when I thought like, oh my God, what if I wake up one day and I can't do this? I don't know what I would do with myself. And my guys were like, no, just like be authentic, like just always, so a passion of mine, because I went through so much suffering and suicidal feelings and a body that was failing me. And part of this and that kind of woke me up out of it. This isn't exactly answering your question, but just to share is I'm sure people could hear my voice on YouTube is sitting in front of Abraham talking about like my very most personal insecure fears. Not only does that shed light on something because you're getting clarity to see it through the eyes of source, but it's like that comes up out of you. So for me personally, that's why I have on my website like one page of showing like my evolution, how like
yeah.
anyone can do this because you can like anyone can do this when just choose it when you tap into this. Because I always admire Esther Hicks at channels. I've loved those people, but I didn't believe that it was possible for me till you see yourself doing something. So it's just like when you see like the interview with Britney Spears or Beyonce, and they're like, I was the little girl with the hairbrush in front of the mirror. So it's like just focusing on something long enough, which I think that goes for any talent or any craft. It's like the time, right? Because we live in a time-space reality. So it's like the time that you're putting into something uh can create excellence. Not that I'm saying I'm excellent at anything, but when you focus in a certain manner for a long period of time, then you become excellent. And I think I don't know anything about science to even quote this, but when you use your brain in terms of meditating or focus, that well actually no, because there's science, right? They have the sports players that have those things on them, and then they tell them to visualize making
Yeah.
the basket, right? And it makes your body have the output as if you're doing something. So I think when you do anything with meditating or quieting your mind, that can open up these abilities to anyone. It's a very, very quick path to doing it.
And Joe, do you follow Joe Dispenza? He is Joe Dispenza talks about in a scientific way, improved way of like all with showing people how powerful meditation is and what
Yeah,
happens in the brain and
yeah,
in the heart,
yeah.
and the healing that happens in the body when people get sick or so that's for sure. There's proof. If you want to see it, there's actual proof with machines and cables and like the whole thing, you know. Um, for people that don't really believe it when you just kind of say it, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, Before we keep going, there's one question I wanted to ask you for people that don't know the difference. What's the difference between being a channeler and a clairvoyant? I know it's done through the opening of your heart and your energy and your feeling, of course, because it's just a feeling. And that's one thing that I understand about all this. It's just a feeling, like an awareness, you know, like you just, for example, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're getting messages to share to people, you feel it as an awareness. You don't hear a voice. Okay, Brand, now do this. Do you feel it? Like you feel this awareness of what you want to say. Am I correct? But what's the difference? Sorry, what's the difference of both?
Oh no, there's nothing to be so well, here's the thing for me personally. A part of my journey in doing this is when you're doing anything with non-physical, when you try to understand it, you get in your own way. Because
Yeah.
there's been so much of me wanting to know, like, why is this happening? How is this happening? And but then it's like if I ask those questions, I'm the old me. I'm not the me that's now this vibrationally aligned version of me, because so it's a lot of it comes into like having faith in just understanding that, well, we're all God's children, right? If this person can do it, I can do it. That kind of faith thing, in that when you need to know how something happens, it's kind of like you get in the way. But that's something that I went through myself, because I'm like, how is it, like, why am I doing, how is this happening, why am I
Hmm.
doing this? Needing to understand. It's like, well, you can't understand because you're but so channeling is sort of a human being uh allowing in the stream of non-physical to speak through you, like being being more, being all of you, right? So being tuned in and allowing a message of a guide, non-physical spirit source, someone to come in a broader perspective to share. Clairvoyant is literally being able to see into the quantum field, all right? Because everything connects, everything is energy, everything is sort of in motion. And it's sort of, this is something that I'm still learning, because I keep getting new skills and I don't know how it's happening. Like when I first started doing this, I used to um not be able to do what I'm doing now, where now I'm at the point with like when I use the tarot cards for a client, I can, if they want, read their mind and pull, right? Because tarot cards are like, I use them in a way that they're tuning forks. So they're just an indicator of a vibration or a perspective to sort of help someone connect the dots. So I would say being a clairvoyant is being able to read energy to help someone connect the dots. And that was such a passion of mine. Is I was in such fear. I was in such pain. I was in such sickness. I wanted to get out of it. And finding information of how the quantum physics of reality works helped me not only to leave that behind, but gave me confidence, understanding that this is it's just math, right? That it's simply math. It's simply understanding that if I'm putting out this vibration, I'm going to get this back, that like attracts like. So I would say clairvoyant is being able to sort of read energy of what someone's output is. It's just being sort of sensitive to a vibration to help someone connect the dots, to see sort of what what reality they're going to have access to based on their vibration.
Mm. Wow. So, but everything is based on energy. Everything is energy.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
because we can be, do, or have anything that we desire, right? But we only have access to certain probable realities based off of our vibration. So it's like if you've been thinking and feeling a certain way for, the past year, you're not going to audit. It's yes, it's possible, but you have to take a month of being able to shift yourself or being able to feel a different way before you can go down that path.
and so is it 30 days? I mean, I know the Abraham Hicks, they talk about uh, if you're thinking, if you have a thought of more than 17 seconds, a minute, and then 2 minutes, you start the momentum. So it's 30 months or 30 months, sorry, 30 days, the like I would say kind of like the minimum if you have to
That's
be in the
that's
same
that's the
vibration.
tipping point. Yeah. It's sort of just with the physics of this time-space reality. It like if you so when I was asking my guide, like, why can I see 4 months into the future and why not? And it was explained to me that we have seasons, right? So just like seasons change and the tree will die and then it will become winter, that and if you've heard Abraham say, if you can feel a certain way for 4 months, that's like a season. So it's like, uh, I don't understand the scientific terms to explain to you, but if we can be in a certain energy long enough that it sort of registers in your point of attraction. So to make a long story short, 30 days in our reality is sort of the tipping point of really locking into a vibration, feeling something long enough that it actually affects your point of attraction. You can do it overnight, but in terms of like actually making like a big shift, right? In terms of I want something that I haven't experienced before, it's about a month of being in a certain energy or emotion, energy, emotion, emotions, and energy of sort of where that registers, it locks into you, where then it's like that's what you're predominantly outputting, and then you'll have manifestations based on that point in time shift.
So it's almost like you need to go into you need to go into a bunker or like a room and close your door for 3 months so then you can manifest something. Because what happens with a lot of people is they have a goal, whatever, and but then the world comes and hits them, boom, and this person comes and takes off, gets him off the boat, and then this person comes in and says the news or this. So then your belief system is kind of like this, you know. So I mean, I feel like sometimes there's so much going on out there that I kind of want to turn it off. And I want to become, like Abraham Hicks says one time, a vibrationally snob person, where you just close the door. I don't want to hear any negative stuff. And I want, you know what I mean? And so how do you deal with that? To have that 30 days with the flow, 30 days of momentum to
Absolutely.
manifest. Yeah.
So I started doing this before I got into this, just because there were things that I was desiring to live that I wasn't living. But how you start your day is so important, because when you wake up in the morning, you're on new unto the universe, right? You have sort of like a vibrational clearing. It's like a reset point. So when I wake up, as soon as I wake up, I open my eyes, I grab my iPhone at first thing, and I go to my notes and I do a list of positive aspects. So I do my home, my work, my body, my relationships. Just a word, I just woke up, I'm tired. So I'll just put a word like 10 things that I appreciate about each. I'll get up, go to the bathroom, I'll sit down to meditate. So first thing in the morning, even though, I might be tired, as best as I can, I'm trying to have that clearing, have that vibrational stability, sort of set myself in. Once I wake up from that, I will sit down and I will focus wheel. It's a process where you make different circles around like a clock, and you sort of clean up anything that is might be active in my energy, anything that I'm wondering about, sort of shift myself, get myself going. I'll go back, do another list of positive aspects again, and then I'll just do some scripting. Like if I have something I'm looking forward to in the week or something later, I'll just write like a journal entry, like a diary of something that's off in the future, just kind of pre-paving. Of course, because I'm doing energy reading for clients, I'm very like obsessive about that, but it really is how you start your day. If you can do any sort of appreciation or meditating or journaling or scripting. So that's what's most active in your energy field as you begin your day. And I'll tell all my clients, like, when the best way to sort of get yourself grounded is the book of positive aspects. You just get a notebook from the dollar store, right on the front, my book of positive aspects, right before bed. And first thing in the morning, that's the last thing you think about. That's the first thing you think about. So my home, my work, my body, my relationships, listing 10 things of each, that little game or process can be enough to start momentum going. And then, of course, your day begins, you get distracted, you get emails, people call, but just that little bit of effort to sort of focus or to get yourself sort of focused energetically can really, really, really make a big difference and sort of get you stable energetically. So that was a very long answer because
No,
that's
it's perfect.
anything that you can do first thing in the morning to sort of focus or get yourself sort of vibrationally stable by having an energetic awareness is invaluable in terms of getting your stability for when you go on through your day.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's not only people think that it's only about the workout and being in shape and going to the gym and whatever, but it's like you were saying, this is work that is a processes you can follow, you can do, you
Yeah.
know, it's getting your mind trained to start appreciating, start positive aspects. The one I do all those. The one I have always a hard time with is the wheel, uh, sorry,
Focus,
what do you call it?
the
The
focus
focus
wheel.
wheel. Thank you, focus wheel. I've always have a little hard time with it. I don't know why. So I'm kind of working on that so I can take it, do it properly. But uh, I think I start getting off, and I don't make the little space enough for the letters to fit. I'm like, but there's always a process you can do. There's always something like I do you know who Erin Lyons is? Um,
No,
another channeler that I follow, and I really like her. She's in San Diego, and she talks about that every hour she has on her watch like a sound that reminds her to be present and to just be grateful and present every hour. And so I'm doing that too as well, and it really helps. Every hour, it goes beep. Oh, I stop anything, and then whatever I'm doing, even if I'm driving, when I'm driving, I hear it. I just think it. I breathe as I'm driving. I say thank you. I'm present.
yeah,
I feel my energy. I don't have to close my eyes because I might get into an accident. But
yeah,
and then you know what I mean, like at the house, I leave everything. I drop. I even let's say I'm working on my phone. I even put my phone down. I don't want to touch anything that is electronic. I want to just feel my energy. It kind of helps me go through the day. Especially if you have heard so many bad things, or because that's another thing I've had a hard time with is trying to stay in a conversation that is not serving me, you know, about criticism, about the news, about the government, about whatever, about these problems. It's not serving me energetically, and I just feel like I don't want to leave the group. I don't want to look like I'm mean. So I'm gonna stay
yeah.
and listen to this. I've had a issue with that. How do you deal with
I
that?
understand completely. I have a friend who's very fearful right now and kind of being greatly affected by politics. But I have found the greatest thing to stay centered is, yes, I let my mind trail off, so I'm not really listening to what she's saying, but I just look at her and I just think how strong she is. And I listen deeper, even though it's something that I might not agree with or something that is very hateful. I give her even more attention. I look her in the eyes and I just listen deeper. I try to adore her. I don't go off and judge, but the greatest thing to connect me to source when I'm in that situation, like you said, I'm with people and they're talking about bliss, is I listen deeper, is I allow myself to be a conduit of love where I don't agree with it, and it can be scary or upsetting, and I don't even know what they're talking about, but I be really present. So to be even more present will allow you to be unaffected, because to give someone your undivided attention, even though they're speaking hate, right, or you don't care, allows you to just be a pure conduit of love from source. So it's like I bring myself, I listen even more deeply, and I ask a question. I'm asking a question, even though I don't know what they're talking about, I don't care what they're talking about, but I ask a question because nothing is more aligning me to love or allowing me to be centered and not shaken than to just be, and sometimes you might think, oh, well, I see how scared she is. Or, I know I don't know enough to say something to make her feel better, but I'm just going to be right in the moment, right? Because like you were saying, all those beautiful processes we do, when we leave the now, right? When we go off in time, that's when we activate the negative belief systems that can attract things we don't want. So the important thing about being now is when we're now, we are not activating attraction of how we were in the past or how we might have been vibrating. So when I find myself in a situation like that, when someone's talking, I try to just be super, super present. So rather than being grossed out or affected by the hateful things they might be saying, I get super, super present, and I feel sort of like a warmness. I feel like love come in, and I feel myself like, wow, she's scared, and I'm just going to look her in the eyes and I'm just going to love her. I'm going to listen deeper.
Mm.
Though I don't understand what she's saying, or I might not even have the education to comment politically, I'm going to actually ask a question. I'm going to say, how do you feel? And that neutralizes the negativity because I'm being so present rather than wanting to pull away or run away from it. That Does that make sense? That
It
that
makes
that
so much sense. And it's so beautiful you said that it's about love. It's when we see people who they are, and we
Yes,
are all love,
yes,
and that's when you see their real love the person is, and
absolutely.
that's amazing, and
And that
that's like
helps to see them, right? Because you feel at first like running
yeah,
away, but instead you stay and you just focus more on them. You look them in the eye,
yeah,
and then it's like you can't help but love them. And then you're uplifting them because they
yeah.
might be speaking hate, but you're just staying there and adoring them. And then you're proud of yourself because you're like, okay, I'm not running away. And then it can just be an enlivening
Mm.
station, even though everybody's scared and might be spewing hate.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for that, Brent.
Yeah.
That's good for everybody to understand that and practice that. This is a good way to end this amazing conversation with love. And it's been like university. This is like a university degree course right here. Like hearing you talk and these amazing stories and experiences. And wow, thank you for your time that you put to just meet me here and be into the flow with me and my show. Um, I want to make sure people can follow you and get a hold of you. What's the best way? You have a website and you and Instagram, am I correct?
Yeah, my website is thechangingchannel.com. My Instagram is Abraham Hicks Quotes. I do that more actively. I have my own one, The Changing Channel, where I share what I've been channeling, but I'm just kind of more enjoying working with people one on one. So that's kind of where it's been taking me right now at this moment.
Okay, great. So I'll put that on the credits at the bottom. Anyways, Brent, like I said, I could talk to you forever. This is so good. And again, thank you. And I will ask you maybe another time to come back for part two if you're available, because there's so much to talk about and so many things to share with people. And so somebody, even if one person benefits from this conversation, that's amazing. And so everybody, thank you for tuning in into the flow. Remember, stay into your flow. And thank you for listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. Brent, thanks again. It's awesome.
For having me.
All right, we'll be in touch. All right. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Brett.
Thank you.